Hi there. This is Lori with Co-Creating Impact and it's timesunshine.com. We're here with our good friend Laura. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Lori. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on. We're here to hear a little bit about your story and what tools and resources you've used in the past to help you in times of stress, and take it from there.
Sure thing. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm a teacher. I teach fifth grade. And I guess I kind of want to start with a few things that put me into where I am and what I do with these children, with their mental health, and everything that's going on during this pandemic.
Mhm.
So growing up, I was raised in a Christian home. My parents were married forever. The only, people they had been married to, one of those kind of set families on this is how it's supposed to be. And it was just mainly my whole childhood was the religion shoved down the throat. I don't remember much else other than always being at church, always doing church things, always with other people from the church. And so as I grew up with that, I started to kind of have my mind opened a little bit through a science teacher of mine in middle school.
Hmm.
And it made me want to question things. It made me want to find answers and research things. And through that, I've realized like there's so much more uh, for some of these people that just have, religion force fed on them. There's so much more if you have the opportunity to open your mind and just look, really. Um, so at that point, I kind of left the religion scene when I was about 15 or 16. Um, and from then on, I just kind of felt, that I had a purpose here. And the purpose was to be a part of this 7 billion herd of people, of the species that we are. And what difference can you make when you're 1 in 7 billion? Maybe nothing large scale, but you definitely can start with the people around you. So, fast forward a little bit, I got through my teens into my 20s and I started teaching. I had a degree in biology and I used that to get an alternative teacher certification to work with young kiddos and share some of these truths and education moments with them and even get to know them a little bit more as human beings because that's what we are. Um, so my first year teaching was kind of rocky. Wasn't sure if it was for me, but there were a few kiddos that I had really got to know that almost kept me there. Like I knew that I had to be there because I was going to have more students from their situations. And each child has different situations. They come from different homes. And so learning them and hearing their stories is absolutely beautiful and it's absolutely eye opening to just how different the world is and how different people are, how they think, where they come from, what happens to them, their experiences, their journeys, all of those things. And so I loved it. It became my calling, and that's what I wanted to do is work with these kids. Well, the past 7 years have been wonderful, but the pandemic, this has really thrown a wrench in things. Um, those kids that you build relationships with that maybe don't have it so good at home, or they consider school a safe place,
Mm.
they've been stuck at home in this place that they don't feel safe at for, more time than they've probably ever wanted to be there. Learning their stories more times than I would ever want them to be there. I remember when we had spring break about a month ago, I was so excited. I needed the break, but I was so worried for those kids that were going to have to be home again. And some of these kids are taking it okay. You have some of your excelled kiddos that are doing well with the self teaching or working virtual, but a lot of these kids are not okay. You have your active kiddos that are missing the sports, they're missing the friendships, they're missing the camaraderie of the group of people that they hang out with. And that can be detrimental to the mind. You can start to recluse. You can start to kind of fade back from reality because you're missing these elements that make you you. But you also have the other end of the spectrum. And that's our kiddos that are already low, already behind. They have the learning behaviors or the learning disabilities. And I worry about those kids because a lot of them are not getting the services that they need. They're not getting the support that they need. And so, from my small position with my circle of influence, I do what I can to accommodate and to really build those relationships to give them that piece of normalcy through all of this. Some of the kids, it's really difficult because you're virtual and you just get the face-to-face for 30, 45 minutes a day, whatever class it is. But we do have some kids that are in class. And so I'm doing what I can and focusing on them because that's within my circle of influence. It hurts me that I can't reach all my kids this year, but I also have to understand that that's out of my control. If they're not in the classroom and I cannot convince their parents to get them into the classroom, which is understandable because of the pandemic, but again, that wrench thrown into everything, I focus on my kids that are there.
Right.
And I build those relationships with them. And you know, even if that means a whole day of, hey, we're just going to talk. What do you want to talk about? What do you like doing at home? And I think that's one of the most important parts of teaching is building those relationships first, building that trust with those kiddos, making them want to come to school.
Yes.
And then once they trust you, once they can wholeheartedly say, I feel safe with this person, then they're open to learning. And that's where the magic happens, because my first 2 years of teaching, not so good. I was beginning. I didn't know what I was doing. And then they switched the subject that I was teaching. So I had to reteach myself stuff over the summer because I had no idea what I was going to be teaching these kids.
Wow.
And weird enough, they won't let me out of it now because I have become really good at that now. But through doing that and getting comfortable, and now like all the paperwork, the grading, that stuff is like on the back burner. Not that I don't do it. I do it and all my stuff is done on time. But I've gotten so used to doing it that that's just automation work. So I can focus all of my energy, all of my time, everything I need to for these kids, even if it's the silliest of things, because sometimes it's nonsense, but if they want to tell you something, it's for a reason, or they're saying it for a reason, maybe for attention, then you can address that. I understand you want everybody's eyes on you right now. However, or whatever the situations are.
So have you noticed more anger or different behaviors since COVID?
Yes.
Have you?
Some kiddos are understandably bouncing off the walls because that's the only time they get out of house is at school. And so it is difficult to work with. I do have a kiddo this year that's just every time I turn around, he's at somebody else's desk. And I'm just like, social distancing, man. Come on. Like, I need you to stay here. And I mean, he's fast. He's fast. But not just that, because it's across the school. I mean, kids are crazy town right now. They truly are. And it's understandable. But there's that. There's the ones who have not done well over the past few years are coming way down, way down.
So would you say that there is some change that needs to be made since COVID, say going into the next year? And what type of changes do you think as a teacher? And thank you, by the way, for your service, frontliner. Teachers are amazing. Some good ones like you. What type of changes do you think that the overall school system could make, not only for next year, but just moving forward?
Okay. So I think everything was poorly planned. Let's start there. When I understand, the beginning, or when it started last spring break, they shut it down, and we did what we could for the rest of the year.
Right.
That was understandable. teachers were floundering. Of course, kids are floundering. That was okay because that was an emergency situation. They had 2 to 3 months to figure out a good plan of action.
Right.
And that could have been, just not that I have all the answers or examples, but everybody should have been working extremely hard over the summer to figure out what we were going to do to keep our kids where they were, to not lose any progress, to keep moving on with the excelling that we've been expecting of them for the past so many years. There should have been a game plan for that. I've talked with lots of teachers all over the country, all over the world, and a lot of them agree on the same thing. The year started out with be compassionate, be considerate of their circumstances. Some kids might not be able to turn on their camera, or some kids might not be able to show up on time every day because of their surroundings, which is okay. That lasted for about 2 weeks and it was completely out the window. And this isn't just at my school. Again, this is in collaboration with other teachers that I've talked with that have said it all happened there too. It was like 2 weeks in and that was out the window. Attendance, be calling your students. They need to show up. Everybody needs to have their camera on. This needs to be done. That needs to be done. And coming from my point of view, I'm like, we went on Friday to saying, okay, you guys, make sure, if you can get on, try to get your work turned in. We're going to work with you. You have till next whatever day to get it done. It went from that to, hey, this is Monday morning. Your work's due by the end of the day. If it's not in, we're not going to accept it late. And these aren't our rules. If they come down and say these things that we have to do, we have to follow. Or, that's a break in our job description. But it felt like it went completely out the window. And that was really, really sad, being made to call a student's home, at 8:00 in the morning.
Right.
Where are you at? Why aren't you on?
Yeah.
Your parents are like, oh, we don't have no Wi-Fi. We lost a job. We don't have a computer. All of these issues, and we're getting upset at them for it.
Right. And do you think that moving forward that parents and teachers and administrators and the whole system will possibly do things, because now we've had time to kind of step back and look at the whole system as a whole? How can we, moving forward, change things a little bit, not just for a pandemic, but just for overall good practices with the school? Is there any changes that could be made slowly but surely?
Absolutely. For one of the things that most schools spend money on is like the PDs and the trainings that all the teachers go through. In a lot of experiences, they're the same trainings every year. Every single year. You have a day off, or the kids have a half day and the teachers have to go to training. It's the same thing you went through last year. It's, and these aren't certifiable things. These are just like, oh, we have teacher meetings these days. Let's fill it with something. And so year after year, you get the same knowledge over and over again. So reform on that, because there's so much more now or mental health issues that can be incorporated into how to better build relationships with your students, how to better impact their learning environment, how to better increase their learning abilities. Anything focusing on the student and the whole student, first of all, would be the best. And getting off of a lot of districts, a lot of schools all over the place, they're businesses. They're not there for the child, they're businesses.
Yeah. And we're getting close to the end of the time. We could go on and on forever because I know that there's a lot to be said with the school system. But I just want to know for you, for your own personal life, what are your top 2 daily self-care essentials?
Top 2 daily self-care essentials. Coffee and about 30 minutes to myself in the morning. It's actually very important for me to be able to kind of reflect and set myself on how I'm going to be that day, what I'm going to face. What issues I already know that I'm gonna be handling with my students, or even at home in the family life, and just kind of preparing for those mentally and in a way that I already have a thought through game plan. Um, because I don't like doing things just, it's almost like the empty positivity or the toxic positivity. It's that automatic, oh, you're doing great. And you're just saying that, you're not putting any meaning into it. And so
Right.
I truly do try to think about that daily. Um, my second thing, I would have to say, this is really odd, but this kind of comes from my sense of humor or my cynicalism. But I do kind of have a motto, and it's do the dumb things you got to do.
Amen. Thank
And
you.
they're not, they don't have to be necessarily dumb, but it's those, get those responsibilities, get those, priorities done that you have through the day. And actually, I've used that to help a lot of students that are, the tougher guys, or the ones that don't want to do anything. I tell them, look, man, I'm going to tell you what my motto is. What's your goal? You want to get out of school? You don't want to be here anymore? All right. So in order to do that, you got to do the dumb things you got to do. And so for that, even some of the older students, they're like,
I'm using that. Thank you. I'm using that with my 10-year-old. I appreciate that. Thank you, Laura.
Things you got to do.
That's right. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Talk to you later.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.
Bye. That was awesome.